for our very first YouTube live as the Moorr product team. So for those of you who don't know us, I'm Alric and this is Connor, and we are the product managers of the Moorr platform. So what we have for you today is something that's a little bit special, right? So it's currently tax season.
It is.
Yes. It's currently tax season, and then we know that many of you with investment properties are currently scrambling to get basically your documents in order for your tax advisors. So what we've got today for you is basically a little showcase of two features that we've most recently released in the last week or so that should help you in terms of getting the most out of your experience with Moorr and helping speed up that process and maybe make an improvement towards your tax season, this financial year. Yeah. All right. Well,
let's get straight into it.
Yeah, let's go straight into it. All right. So first of all, we've got two features here that we want to talk about. The very first one, as you can see on the screen, is investment property transactions. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what this is, why we're doing it, or why we've done it. And then I'll hand over to Connor over here to basically talk about the property tax report. And then we'll kind of sort of round it out a little bit in terms of understanding the full story around where this is all going with Moorr. What does it all mean for you as investment property owners, and what does it mean for you as a user of the Moorr platform?
Perfect. And also feel free to put through any questions as well. We'll go through, look at any sort of questions that are coming through and answer them at the end as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Connor. All right, so I'll take it from here in terms of the investment property transactions overview. Now, basically what this sort of feature is looking to do is a couple of things. One of the key pain points that we're looking to solve for our investment property users is documentation. That's basically sort of the long story short, some of it. Now, in terms of what we've recently released earlier this year in terms of transactions on the platform, that allows you to basically start going ahead and ingesting your CSV transactions from your bank statements and starting to get some value out of it, in terms of understanding how your spending is in terms of your financial household story. Now, that doesn't always translate when it comes to property transactions themselves, because as you know, if you do have an investment property, most of your transactions actually run through your property manager. What that means is if you have a bank statement transaction, what do you get? You just get the net income figure, which doesn't really tell you the full breakdown of what actually, what your property is basically doing in terms of the gross rent, the management fees, the expenses, where they're all going. And for a lot of people, they don't actually necessarily break that down until, let's say, the year end. So this particular process that we're looking to do in terms of introducing this feature to Moorr is to allow you to get that sort of ongoing insights on a monthly basis. When you start getting your rental statements from your property manager, you can start to upload them straight into the platform and start getting those immediate up-to-date insights. All right. And as we know, the full picture of where all these, income and expense transactions lives most of the time is going to be in your rental statements. You will have the odd transaction that lives outside of this that you transact with directly with your trades, as an example. And this basically encompasses the full picture. All right, so just to expand a little bit on what that story looks like, at the moment, what you can see on the page is a new property cash flows insights table that we've got inside an investment property. And what you can see here is it's all we've got there is just the net cash flow, because all we've got is essentially just the income coming in from our property manager on a monthly basis. Now, one thing you'll note there is actually a couple of months missing there, and this is from a real property, from a real one of our actual users. And you can see in January and June, there are a couple of months missing. So
no expenses looks quite nice, Al. I wouldn't mind a property like that, I think.
Oh, that'd be amazing. $24,000 of total income, coming through a year with no expenses. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
A dream.
Yeah, what a dream. Positively geared for sure. Right. So what you can see here as well is once you actually start to break that down, you have the total gross income at 35K. You have total expenses at 8K. And for whatever reason, we've now actually got $26,000 instead of $24,000 of net cash flow. Looks a bit weird, eh?
You get the idea.
Yeah. Right. So basically, what's the story here, right? And what don't we get from just the bank statements? Obviously, you can see the breakdown of your expenses and where they're all going to go. But what you also will see is when you start to ingest your rental statements, you'll actually start to see a bit more of a breakdown. And in June, what you can see here at the very bottom is an amount withheld for this particular rental statement of $2,650 for a replacement air conditioner. And that's something that the story of your bank transactions wouldn't have told you, because that amount has actually been withheld by your property manager for that particular month. You've received no money for rental income that month because of this particular upcoming expense. But for the purposes of your tax reporting, you do need to declare your rental income in terms of your gross rental income, as well as your actual expenses for that month, even though they haven't actually hit your bank account, because they have actually occurred in that particular time. So where does that kind of leave us, right? So what I'll do here is I'll kind of take you through how to get to this particular stage here. So from this early stage here with just your net transactions into an actual breakdown of your total cash flow insights. So first things first, what have we done and how are we going to do it? So with regards to investment property transactions, we'll be using Opti as our AI to basically go ahead and extract your monthly rental statements transactions, and that'll basically build out your gross rental income and all of your individual expense transactions line by line inside Moorr, so that you don't have to do it yourself. So that gives you that breakdown, and then we'll also give you the option to basically match optionally to a existing bank transaction that's already in the portal. So if you've got open banking or you've used a CSV import transaction, we just want to make sure that if that already exists and you're uploading the rental statement, if they're the same thing, you don't want to be double counting that. And finally, I'll just kind of launch into a really quick demo as to what that sort of looks like. So to get started, all you want to do is you want to head over to basically a property asset card. You can see here I've got bare bones of one. I've got a rental income and then a single expense. Now what you want to do is you want to head over to your transactions area. Now in this tab itself, what you'll see is a list of transactions if you've already got them. Again, if you haven't used CSV imports, then you might not see anything in here. But what you can see here is I've got a number of transactions here that have come through via my bank statement. And then on the right here, what you see is a new rental statements area. So from here, I've gone ahead and uploaded a bunch prior to this, but I'll go ahead and upload another one just to show you how it's done. But it's relatively straightforward. Upload your statement, and then it'll basically start to process that statement automatically with AI. And once it's done, you'll eventually receive, if you click on one of these ones over here, the ability to basically process your statement, whereby it's gone ahead and actually extracted each one of those line items out of that PDF rental statement and built them out for you. So all you need to do from here is basically go ahead and confirm that these are correct. Now, if there is no card allocation created, you can go ahead and create new ones yourselves, or Opti can actually suggest the most optimal place for that particular card to go if they don't already exist.
Yeah, and I just want to point out too, it's when personally I've done this, I found it really beneficial to really have the option to just do one at a time, or you can really just dump them all in there. And I did a full year's worth just going through quite quickly. So it sort of gives you that option. You don't have to just upload one and go through. You can really have the flexibility around how you want to upload. If you want to come back regularly, see how your properties are performing month to month, rather than waiting for the full end of financial year to get access to this as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up as well, Connor, because what we will touch on later is a little bit around where this is all going to go, because what you're seeing here is obviously a little bit manual at the moment in terms of you uploading those transactions, you having to confirm them, and then you potentially having to link them. But the goal for us is to automate this as much as possible for you going forward in the future. So instead of you having to upload a bulk of statements at the same time, those potentially can come through automatically from your property manager directly. So to move on, basically all we want to do here, let's say that all looks okay to me. I just want to go ahead and hit confirm and create transactions. What that's going to do is that's actually going to go ahead and create those transactions for me in this particular area over here. Now, once that's basically done, I can also have the option to what's called link it to a bank transaction. So this is just to ensure that I haven't doubled up on anything. So without doing this, what you can see here is you've got the statement only transactions that I've just created, but I've also got this $2,500 one over here that is related to this particular statement. So by doing this, I can basically say, yeah, these two are actually linking. They're one and the same thing. You can see now that that one over there from the CSV import transaction has now disappeared, and then it's now showing the status of linked. So that's basically the short and sharp version in terms of how to actually upload your rental statement and how to go through and basically link it to your to your bank transaction. Again, that is optional. So if you don't choose to link it, and I'll give you this example as well. This is the actual statement that I referred to earlier in the slide deck around having a full amount withheld of $2,285. In that particular case there, we'll just go ahead and input some of these over here, 2025, in terms of the dates. Yeah, it's gone ahead and created a new water card for me as well. So by doing this, I'm creating and recognizing that those transactions exist. But because there is actually never going to be a linked bank transaction for this specific instance, because it is a $0 value, I can just go ahead and hit skip linking. And again, that's going to be a perfectly valid option for me to have. So you can see there, that's coming through from the statement only. All right, so as Connor alluded to earlier, in terms of where we're taking this, something really cool we're going to have in the near future is a dedicated email for each of your investment property assets, where you'll be able to provide this directly to your property manager. Yep, and then that property manager, whether it's CC'd or as the go-to sort of inbox for your property rental statements, once they have those, if they're received via this email, they'll be automatically uploaded and potentially automatically extracted directly into the platform, and then from there, potentially also auto reconciled if you do have your bank transactions along the way. But where does this all go? This basically all goes towards your end of financial year tax report and making sure that at the very end of the financial year, the amount of time that you spend getting all your documents together, getting all of that documentation is basically cut down to a bare minimum, which is where I'll hand over to you, Connor, in terms of talking about the property tax report and where to go from here.
Perfect. Thank you, Al. So yeah, like Al has mentioned, the idea of the property tax report is really to help you get all of your documents, your transactions, and sort of get organized for that end of financial year activity that you need to do as a property investor. So this is really built with the notion that you will still complete your end of financial year tax reporting with an accountant. So this doesn't sort of replace the need for the accountant. It's really helping you deal with that sort of life admin and the admin that goes along with managing your properties. So I'll talk straight through a demo here. So this is my PAM example here. And I'll also show you some of the other features that will really work in combination with this. So let me go here. So essentially, you may have seen a little sneak peek of it before, but if we click into the property here, you will see two new tabs that you might not have seen before. The first is Documents, and the second is the Tax Tracker. So this, the property tax report will belong under this Tax Tracker, which will, as we keep building out the tax features, we'll have things like an asset register for your aircon units and things like that that you might add on for depreciation, but also as a hold where you generate this tax report. We also have the document section, so we'll briefly look at that. But this is where you can upload any document that your heart desires into Moorr, and you really use it for your sort of storage area here. So as we build out to the AI capabilities on platform, we'll be able to use documents here to sort of extract data out of and sort of pre-filled some of the fields within Moorr for you. And yeah, you can just use it to store documents, refer back to, sometimes you might have the insurance certificate and you're not sure where to keep it. Something like that would be perfect to upload for your documents section here. And every single document every card in Moorr rather will have a document section. So it doesn't really matter what it's referring to. It might not be investment properties. It might be any sort of receipts or warranties. If you've just bought a new TV, you can upload that here as well. This again ties into the transactions that Al showed before, where we have all of our transactions throughout the year. You can see the documents or the rental statements that we've uploaded as well. But at the end of the financial year, you would come through to this page. As you can see, it's simply just a holding page now for this report generation. But now we're going to go through a wizard. So essentially, this helps us gather and review all of the information that we've uploaded throughout the financial year. And if we've missed anything along the way, we can add that as well. So given it's we've just ticked over into the new financial year, let's do the last one here. This is where, if you've been a little bit slack on your admin, then you might choose to upload all of your documents now and go through the process of sort of confirming and adding those statements and the transactions from those documents as well. I've already done that. So we can see here they're all confirmed and added in. So we can step through to the next page here. If I've done everything so well throughout the year, or I've just uploaded all those documents, there's no more transactions to add or anything like that, I can simply just generate the report now. This is done sort of in isolation for the particular investment property. So in this profile, we can see there's only one investment profile. But if you had multiple investments, then you would go through and sort of complete this for each. But you can just complete or download the report now. We will see, we'll go through the full process, but if you were to click on the report now, it would then save to that document section that you can refer back to. And it will also pop out for us to view as well. And you can just keep sort of generating the report. So let's say you generate the report and then you realize you've forgotten or missed something. You can simply just come back in here, make those changes and generate the report again. And then keep the old one for reference or delete and use the new dated one as well. Let's go through to income here. So here, there is a couple of things worth noting. So you can see there's your sort of typical rent payments, but also these are sort of supply rent charges to the tenant. So these would fall, as we can see at the top here, there are some transactions which fall under other rent rather than the rental income. So that's where we can drag and drop to this other rent related section here. So these are still accounted for in your tax return with your accountant, and they would review this as well. But you can also just go through and drag and drop any of those other rent income related transactions here. As we keep building the capabilities and I guess the confidence with Opti, this again, we can improve how we automate this and make it easier so that you don't need to do this, but it will just help you at this stage make sure that it's all aligned in the right spots. So as we've done that and we've included it in the right section, we'd then move through. So you can see here, we do have real-time updates of the rental income for the year and the other versus the normal monthly rent there as well. We then have the expense section. So here you can see there's a combination of transactions which I've uploaded through like the CSV, so outside of the rental statement. So for example, there's council rates. These are things I've paid out of pocket throughout the year. And there's also your typical things that come through on the rent statements, like property management and so forth. So this will pick up any transactions throughout the financial year that you're completing the report for. It would pick up the documents that are uploaded for that time frame, and also any of the transactions relating to that tax year as well. If we have, again, forgotten or we want to add something in that we're not noticing, we can go through and add a manual transaction at this stage as well, but this is all fine. You can see here on the left, there are these ticks. So that just means you can choose to not include anything on the report as well for whatever reason. Now here we can see the loan section. So this accounts for any repayments you've made throughout the year. You can see there is this option here to change the deductible nature of the loan. So sometimes people might have like a split purpose loan, for example. Some of it's for a rental property and some of it they use for personal use. And this is where you can alter that rather than using 100%. You can say put 90% in. If you are making these adjustments, just make sure you are pointing that out to your accountant, and it will say on the report that's generated, but just to flag that as well. But you can see here we have the full interest amount and the deductible amount for the financial year. This will also account for if you've got a split ownership of the property. So if you have your partner in Moorr as well, and you sort of own the property, say 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever the case is, then it does also account and split the income and expenses and so forth, by the ownership of the property as well. But we'll go back to 100% here. there's only one loan in this scenario, but if you do have multiple loans linked to the property, then each of the loans will also show here as well. We'll then go through to ownership. So you'll see a couple of points here around the purchase date, also the property ownership. Again, we can see that 50%. But this is where we have the lease information. So your accountants will use that to determine when your property was available for rent throughout the year. We have two ways of doing this. The first is we actually use the research we have at Moorr to look for listings, and we can find when this property was actually available for rent throughout the year. But we can also see here you can add in a lease or a tenant. So let's say you have a lease with different tenants moving in and out. We can add both of those here, and it will account for when your property was available for rent throughout the financial year. If you disagree, don't like it, whatever the case is, you can just simply overwrite that as well down the bottom. Now let's move through to the final review. You can see, really talking you through and pointing things out. So it's quite a quick process if you're not talking and sharing. But now we're in this final review stage. We just generate the report here. There's all the documents that we've used, one rental statement for each month. So there's been 12 uploaded. And you can see the ownership summary and everything like that here. But now we're generating the report, which will sort of point out the summary document here.
So to really get the most value out of this, do you want to be doing basically, uploading your documents as regularly as you can, and doing your CSV imports as regularly as you can?
I would definitely suggest that. I think for one, this is really good for your end of year admin. And if you have forgotten and you've just left it to the last minute, then that's fine. But really, to make sure and to be on top of it, make sure how your property is performing. We can look back at the insights that Al showed before. Then I would suggest doing it, checking in once a month, for 5-10 minutes. Is really all you need to dedicate to make this a really easy process at the end of the year. But we'll walk through the report here. Two things will be downloaded. There is this report, which really breaks it down, all of the information we saw before. But there's also just a simple Excel file with all of the transactions laid out, which your accountants will be grateful for as well. So I've been quite lucky here with the Empower Wealth team. I really can run things by the accountant, see what they like and what would be helpful for them, but also make sure this is tailored for an investor that may not use an accountant and just want to use this to sort of help them along on the journey as well. So really, this helps it break down per section your different expenses, your rates and everything like that, helping you really gather all of that data that you need rather than just lumping them with countless documents. You don't know where everything is. This helps you just get everything together, keep it on track, make sure that even if you have a property manager, you have an accountant, you really want to be on top of your portfolio, understanding what's happening, where can I optimize, where's the opportunity, and this helps you do that.
It's a good way to audit your property manager as well, isn't it?
Exactly. I think most investors have had experiences where things have been missed or doesn't quite look right. Again, here we can see this is where the data comes through, where there's been a listing in the year, and we can see the days available for rent. But like I was saying, this really helps just keep on track of your portfolio. We can then see the supporting documents that have gone into creating this report. And like I said, this will be stored on file. So you can hand this off to your accountant or just keep it for your own records as well. So that's the property tax report. We will be building out more tax features like the tax register and working in combination with the email import, tax register, everything like that. So this is really our first full-fledged feature around tax. Or getting your documents together for tax purposes. So feel free to provide any feedback and any thoughts that you'd like to see in Moorr, any improvements or anything you really think is missing from the property space. Feel free to pop through, and we're always reading and looking for feedback as well. Let me just share the slide again. There we go. And we'll just move through now to Q&A. So if you've enjoyed today's session and you would like to download more, then feel free to scan the QR code here as well. There's also an option, we will be doing this on a monthly basis. So feel free to subscribe and check out our future showcases where we're talking through different sort of features each time. If there's anything in particular you'd like us to talk through, explain, you want to see what's coming up in Moorr as well, then open to suggestions, reach out, and we can answer that as well.
Alrighty, so we do actually have a few questions from the chat. Thank you very much for sending them through.
Kick it off.
We'll start off with the top one, which is, will it be able to read a water bill and split out fixed charges and water usage? I think that really depends on how it's been laid out directly within your statement itself. At this particular moment in time, it does just read the rental statement itself. We are obviously intending to expand those capabilities. And because we are using Opti as an AI, that is ever evolving as well. So the more use cases we have, the more examples that we have to refer to around what we want it to do, the better it's going to get. So potentially that is something that we can potentially look to add in. Yeah. And just on that as well, you did notice earlier that I did have to type in a few dates. That's also something that we are looking to automate further. And, as I mentioned earlier, the AI is going to evolve and get better at what it does as time goes on. Another question over here, can we add a depreciation schedule and how would it be used? I think it's probably a good one for you to answer.
Yes, definitely. I actually missed that part, I think, in the demo. But if we'll just share the screen again here. Let's just go through to this picture. So you can actually see that there's this capital work deduction section here. This particular account hasn't got any schedule uploaded or any fields added. But if you do have any depreciation, you've received a schedule before, then you can certainly add that in. I'll show you that in a second. And this is where it would feed through to. So we will be looking again to add in the ability for AI to essentially scan the scheduled report. It would pick out all of the prime cost and all the different breakdown of your depreciation, and then it would automatically flow through to this. But at this stage, we just go through to details here. Again, I'll just point out here, we do have all the acquisition costs as well. So some people might not have added that in, but that's where we can add in all the things like stamp duty, Strava fees and deposit and everything that goes into purchasing the property. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for.
That's actually really quite handy, especially if you are looking to potentially sell later down the track and you have to dig up documents from 10 years ago, right?
Exactly,
So it's quite good to have that handy.
The other benefit with capturing data like that is we'll actually feed that through to performance tracking. So you might want to know how your sort of return on investment has been and things like that. So we'll feed that through there. But this is where we add the depreciation. So you can simply just choose the method you'd like to use and then add in the year's depreciation here. So some users do certainly add in every single year, but you really don't have to. You can just add in the year that you want to see on the tax report here. So like I said, we will look to automate this so you don't have to manually add it in. But for now, that's where we'll upload the depreciation schedule.
I think also to expand on that, you mentioned the asset register earlier.
Yes.
So that is something we are looking to add into the platform as well. Because as you know, a depreciation report is done at a point in time.
Yes.
But as you continue to make improvements and changes to your property, certain things do need to be documented and accounted for.
Definitely. And you can't really use one in isolation. We would need to capture the depreciation schedule and then make sure that, if anything changes over time, you can still capture that, where to look for those updates and you can refer back to it as well.
Perfect. Got a few more. This one's back to the property transactions. Will there be an option to sync with our email to pull documents without having to manually upload? Yes, there will be. That is definitely coming as soon as we want, as soon as we can, really.
Because, as soon as we want, yes.
Yeah, as soon as we want. It's definitely like automation, I think, at the moment is what we're trying to really go for. Speed to value, speed to actually getting those insights and that data into the platform without you having to, really do the work yourself is what we're sort of aiming for. And that, I guess, leads on to the next question around how far away is open banking in terms of integration with the transaction feeds. Looks great so far. Thank you very much. It is coming, again, it's one of the things that's pretty much imminent. I'd say in the next few months, we'll be looking to have a initial release of open banking out there to sort of trial and see how that sort of performs on our platform. So
I think it's definitely safe to say that it's our highest priority at the moment. So really where a lot of attention and effort is going to making that available as soon as possible, but still balancing, I think Al is actually the one working on open banking. So I think it's a really credit to him and the developers working on that, just how much sort of focus there has been on security and privacy and making sure, that comes before just speed to getting it out there as well. So.
100%. Yeah. It's your privacy and your data in terms of how we, store it and how we protect it is obviously, the most
important thing.
100%. Okay. So can you track different entities in Moorr? It would be great to produce tax reports for companies and trust structures.
Yes. At the moment, it is really tailored around personal ownership. It is something that we definitely debate and go between us around adding in things like self-managed super funds and trusts and so forth. But for now, we are focusing really around the personal ownership, and we will look to, I guess, flesh that out and to see how we can tailor that, post open banking in particular, really.
Yeah, perfect. I've just got one last question here. Can we adjust automation rules where my rental statement was uploaded and processed and populated the expenses by adding GST, but my statement is inclusive of GST? So that is one thing that I just will quickly point out. If you do have any issues, please feel free to, obviously reach out to our service desk. They will let us know when there are potential problems like this one over here. Now that at the moment is just a potential problem with our, our AI in terms of how it's interpreted some of those particular fields. And that is something that we are looking to fix basically as soon as we can. So basically certain property manager rental statements, they look different to others, right? There's thousands of them out there. Some of them present things with inclusive, exclusive, and some of them just don't have the right terminology on them for the AI to potentially identify that. So we are going to be looking at including a little bit more logic and calculations and all that for our AI to be able to process that correctly. So now with regards to rental statements themselves, we are basically looking to have that completely automated by the AI as much as we can. So in terms of rules themselves, the rules that you've seen in terms of the automation rules on transactions don't necessarily apply to the rental statements feature itself, because that at the moment is just a direct extraction of your transactions from your rental statements. So a little bit different in terms of how that one functions. Alrighty, I think that's pretty much brings us to a close. Again, if you've got any more questions, please feel free to send them to us.
Thank you very much for joining us in our first YouTube live. We will be doing these monthly again. So always feel free to pop back. We're really open to feedback and really love to get all of the ideas from the users that access this every day. So that's where the inspiration often comes from, the changes we make as well. So pop through all of your feedback, suggestions, things you hate, things you like, and we'll review them and look to improve upon the product as we go as well. So thank you very much. And just